The Smith & Wesson CSX versus the Kimber CDS9. Let's check it out. Guys, in a world of polymer frame striker fire pistols, the 1911 is still one of the most popular firearms out on the market. And there's a lot of variations. You have your standard government size, and then you go down to your officers, and then there are a lot of in between. And then you have your 2011s, which have come out. Today we're going to take a look at the Smith & Wesson CSX versus the Kimber CDS9. These have all the controls of your 1911, and they're single action. One thing about it, they both have aluminum frames, and they have a high round capacity, double stack magazines. So really this kind of falls in line between a 2011 and a 1911 in a micro size. So we're going to go head to head, check out all the differences, check out the advantages and the disadvantages of each handgun. And we want to give a big thank you to Smith & Wesson for sending the CSX and to Kimber for the CDS9. These are both excellent handguns and great for concealed carry. Well guys, obviously concealed carry has become a really big deal. A lot of people are carrying, they want something that is very small but yet has a high round capacity. And really SIG P365 kind of got that started. But the polymer frame striker fire pistols, there's a ton of options. And so it's nice to see some different options. And this is the Smith & Wesson CSX, it's the E-Series, and this is the CDS9 Classic. Now both of these have already been upgraded. The trigger on the CSX originally just didn't have a great reset. And they fixed that, but there's a lot of cool features with the Smith & Wesson. And the Kimber came in with their original CDS9, which had a lot of bonus features, but yet the Classic comes in at a little bit better price. We're going to talk about both of these, but we're going to kind of focus on the Classic because I think it kind of mates better with the CSX. Now these are both, again, 1911 style. The mag release, the safeties, even a small beaver tail, and they are both single action. But they both have aluminum frames, and that's one thing that is a big departure from a lot of the striker fire polymer frames. So this gives you that 1911 feel and the confidence and really just better shootability. Now first thing we want to do is make sure the guns are unloaded, so we're going to drop our 10-round magazine from the Smith. The gun is empty. And with the CDS9, we also have a 10-round magazine and the gun's empty. Now, these have been upgraded as in their mag capacity. The 10-round magazine, I had to actually request that from Kimber. They don't offer it. We're going to look at some of the magazine capacities. They have a number of different options, and honestly up to a full-size handgun. They're both about the same size. We'll get a little closer look at that. They're both 9mm. They both have aluminum frames. They're both optics ready, and they're direct mount with the Shield RMSC. I like that because it gets it really low on the handgun. Also, again, ambidextrous safeties, and we have external extractors, which goes away from your standard 1911, which the extractor is placed inside the slide. And this just gives you more reliability. But that's where the similarities stop. They do shoot very similar. I'll have to say they feel pretty similar. The Kimber CDS9 is a little thicker in the grip. And with the Smith & Wesson, it just has more rounded off edges. So if you have larger hands, you're really going to like the CDS. If you have a little smaller hands, the CSX is just going to fit a little better. Now, they do have additional back straps. And you see these polymer inserts, and then we have an insert at the front. So this gives you a lot of texturing, and then you have that smooth surface of the aluminum. Stainless steel slide. We have an Armonite finish. I really like the Armonite finish. It's kind of a black nitride finish. With the Kimber, we have the stainless steel that is just brushed, and then we have the Kim Pro 2 coat finish, which is excellent. But again, if you want to go with the standard version, it does have just the Kim Pro coat finish. There are some upgrades with the slide serrations, obviously the G10 grips, and has the frag pattern as well that is throughout the grip. But when it comes to the original CDS9, we have these grip panels, and they can be changed out. These are polymer, and you can go with the frag pattern. So one thing up front is you're going to have more options for a panel here to change this out if you want to. With the CSX, you're going to get this same kind of design, and it's very functional. I like the way it works, but this just gives you a little more option. Now, the original CSX had a 10-round magazine. Now they're coming with a 12-round magazine, so you're getting 12 rounds right up front. With the Kimber, you're getting a 13-round magazine and a 15-round magazine. This comes with the gun. If you want the 10-round, you have to actually order it separately. I like the 10-rounder because it makes it just more concealable. And so it gives me a decent grip on the handgun, but it's not hanging off. And this is the hardest part to conceal. With the Smith & Wesson, we're going up from 12 to 15 to 17 rounds. I don't have those magazines with me, but this definitely, the 12-rounder gives you a lot of capacity. And to be honest, while it does hang off just a touch, it's not much. And this is 12 rounds. With the CDS9, we have the 13-round magazine, and it's going to hang off considerably more. And so you've got some distance here that's going to be just a little longer with the CDS9 for just one additional round. But then we can go with our 15 round, and it even extends it even farther. Now this gives you a better shooting firearm. You get a full grip, really even with larger hands. This is going to give you a nice grip to it. And yet it has that really short barrel, short recoil system. And guys, it is not snappy. These really shoot well. So those are just some differences. Again, I don't know about the Smith & Wesson 17-rounder, but obviously it's going to hang off a good bit as well and give you that full grip, plus 17 rounds. But again, you can change out the back strap to larger straps. With the CDS9, this is pretty much what you're going to get because you have an aluminum back strap. Now the mag release on both handguns is reversible. You can just switch the Kimber to the other side. One thing with the Smith & Wesson CSX is it has a separate mag release that goes to the other side. So if you're left-handed, it's going to be fully ambidextrous. I mean, you can switch this out, and then of course you can have this one right here. And it does drop the mags out very well. Now with the 12-rounder or the 10-rounder, I mean, the Smith & Wesson does come down and actually fits the bottom of this lip. So that gives you, just for 12 rounds, not a lot of difference. When you switch it out to the 10-rounder, it definitely is even smaller. And so that gives you just a little more grip to your CDS9, but yet it makes it more compact for the Smith. Now, neither handgun has accessory rails. These are both just smooth. I think a lot of that has to do with just the size. But when it came to the original CDS, this gives you 2-slot Picatinny rail. And again, this is an upgrade, and there is a price increase. Obviously with the G10 scales, with the slide serrations that are more advanced, and then of course the frag pattern around the frame. This definitely is an upgrade. But for general purposes, unless you really want that accessory rail, this is pretty much a very shootable handgun. Now the slide serrations on the CDS9, a classic, are pretty much straight, and they do have that contrasting color in there. They're very easy to grab, and it has a very good texturing to it. When it comes to Smith & Wesson, it's a smaller, shorter section for your slide serrations, but it does have a cocking shelf here at the back. so it makes it easier to bring back. And then of course here at the front you have just short cocking serrations as well. And so you're getting a little more real estate with your Kimber, but I think that the Smith & Wesson has a little deeper, more aggressive slide serrations, and with this little cocking notch, it makes it really easy to bring back. Now, the hammers are your Commander style. They do have serrations on top. Your Kimber is just a little bit larger. And we have the beaver tail, and while it's a little different style, they're pretty close to the same. This one just comes down a little bit. This one sweeps up. And then you can see your extended safeties. They're very positive. And then here on the Smith, actually a little more positive on the Smith, but it's really well done on the Kimber as well. And you have your standard slide release, and we have a little bit of an extended slide release on the Smith. Both of the handguns at the front have been beveled off, so it just makes it easier to slide into holsters. With the Kimber, we have a cut here that just relieves some of the space here, but it does have a flat top. With your Smith & Wesson, we do have some line serrations right before you get to the sights, but it's just a rounded off, actually about the same width with both handguns. But I feel that the Kimber actually kind of tapers down just a touch, whereas the Smith & Wesson is pretty much a straightforward line. Now with the Smith, you get 3-dot sights, and these of course are interchangeable. You will lose the rear sight when you take the plate off, and again, this does fit your Shield RMSC footprint, which makes it really nice because that is pretty much the industry standard. With the Kimber, the sight is attached to the plate. So once this is taken off, you lose your sight, but again, this will take direct mount to your Shield RMSC. And it has a fiber optic front sight, which is a tag sight, and then we have a blacked outline at the back. This has been pinned inside the slide just like your standard 1911, whereas the Smith & Wesson has a dovetail. And your loaded chamber indicator on your Smith's a little bit larger than on the Kimber, and then we have a raw stainless steel barrel. Both are stainless steel, both slides are stainless steel. And the barrels are 3.1 inches in length. Now the Smith & Wesson does come with this extended model, which has a 3.6 inch barrel, and so it just comes out about a ½ inch. So it just gives you a little more sight radius. One thing I do like about the Kimber is here at the bottom of the grip, there is a small little divot where you can pull that magazine out if you have any kind of malfunction. So it just gives you a little more grab to the magazine base. Here with the Smith, it's pretty close, but with the 12-rounder, it gives you a little more space to be able to grab, but it doesn't have that opening. The CSX has an undercut here at the trigger guard, which the Kimber comes kind of straight out, but it does have a slight divot here. Get a really good grip on the handgun, and it just kind of nestles in, but you do have that undercut here, a little more rounded off with the CSX, where it's a little more squared off, but yet rounded here at the end. And as far as bore axis, when we have the beaver tails lined up, the Kimber has a little higher bore axis than the Smith & Wesson. In fact, the Smith & Wesson has an extremely low bore axis, but they both really pretty much shoot the same. Now, as far as the trigger pull action, you do have a safety on your trigger, which you don't have on the Kimber. And it is a polymer trigger. So here we can deactivate the safety. We have very little take up, and then a nice break. Reset right there, pretty quick. Now with the Kimber, we have more of a flat face trigger with a little hook. And so here we have just a touch of take up and a really nice break. I would have to say the Kimber has a little better trigger pull. Reset right there. We're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge and Brownells. 4 pounds, 9.9 ounces. With the Kimber, 4 pounds, 14.4 ounces. Pretty close to the same. Weight on the Kimber CDS9 Classic, 20.18 ounces. Weight with the Smith & Wesson, 19.14 ounces, almost an ounce difference. Always a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA, and one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. Very consistent shooting, and we really love Fiocchi. Also, we really appreciate Lula, the Mag Lula. Makes loading these mags so simple. Now when it comes to the range, guys, these are very similar shooting handguns. They have the single action, so it has a really nice trigger pull. The texturing on the grip is really aggressive, so it gives you a solid purchase. And when you have a smaller firearm, it's nice to have that little bit of aggressive texturing. Also, the beaver tail, it evens out the recoil across the web of your hand. Now, the Smith & Wesson, I really like the deeper slide serrations to be able to rack the slide, and then with that cocking shelf, it gives you just a little extra. But with the Kimber, those serrations are really nice. They're bigger, they're wider, and so that also works extremely well. Both typically are pretty much the same size. Now, with the sights on the Kimber, you're getting some advantage with the fiber optic and the black outline at the back. With the CDS9, you're getting a 3-dot sight. Now, obviously, you can change those out, especially like for night sights. And then again, you know, you do have the option for your red dot sight if you choose to do that. When I was taking these to the range, I just decided to shoot them as is, as they come in the box. Now, of course, the accessory rail is definitely a little detrimental for those who really like to have lights on their concealed carry. But again, if you want the Kimber CDS9 original, it has that rail system. So that's going to give you that option. Again, though, it's a little more expensive because there have been considerable upgrades. But overall, they shoot very similar. They're very thin, small handguns, and yet they both have an extreme capacity, especially with the more extended magazines. All right, guys, we're going to disassemble. We do have the magazines out. The chamber's empty. We're going to bring back the slide on the CSX, and you'll see this little crescent. It just goes to the front of the slide release. So we're going to bring it back to the front of the slide release, and we're going to look for the notch inside. Then just push from the other side, just like that, and it comes out. Now go ahead and just bring your slide forward. You don't have to pull the trigger. Here we have our recoil spring and guide rod. It is all metal, and we have our 3.1-inch barrel. When it comes to the Kimber, of course, the gun's unloaded. We're going to bring it back as well, except we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to bring it to the rear of the slide stop. Then here on the other side, we're going to push through. It's a little thinner than the Smith & Wesson, so you need a little bit of a thinner punch. But then it comes popping out as well. No pull of the trigger. We do have a double guide rod system, so this is actually going to help with felt recoil, and then we have our barrel. Let's pull this out. Now this is, of course, all stainless, and so is the Smith & Wesson. So here are the two barrels, very similar in design and shape. The recoil system is definitely different with the Kimber, and it is a very soft shooting handgun, but the Smith & Wesson does pretty well on its own, but I think you're going to get a little less recoil with the Kimber. Here you can see the frame, Smith & Wesson at the bottom. The slide rails go all the way back from about 3/4 of the way. Here we have slide rails, and then we have a section with smaller slide rails, but there is a lot of slide to frame fit on both handguns, and it really gives you just a little bit more smoother recoiling impulse. And the slides are very well done inside, and of course you do have your firing pin safety on either side, so that's just going to give you protection from dropping the handgun. So reassembly, we're going to drop in our barrel on our Smith, we're going to bring in our recoil spring and guide rod, and then we're going to bring it over our frame. Now once we get it again to this little section, and you'll see it kind of open up, just drop in your slide stop, and it snaps into place. Check for function. With the Kimber, we're going to bring in our barrel. With the recoil spring and guide rod, you want this on top. So that little nub just fits down in it and just rests on the barrel lug. Then we're going to bring over our slide. The one thing about the Kimber is you have this little spring, and it needs to go over this little lip. And it's the same thing that it was with the Solo. So we're going to bring it in. We're going to make sure that we get that right in the right spot. If not, it will not hold open on the last round. So we're going to go ahead and test that to make sure we got the spring set. And we did. So just want to make sure you check that, because it will not hold the slide open because it'll disable the slide release. Test for function, and we're good to go. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Now when it comes to price, the Smith & Wesson CSX E-Series is $699 retail. When it comes to the CDS9 Classic, it's $795 retail. But if you want the optics ready version, it's $865. Then when you go to the original model, which has a lot of different upgrades, the retail price is $1,075. Now, market price is typically less. So again, those are retail prices. So what are some pros and cons? First off, the Smith & Wesson is coming in considerably less. You are getting a lot of great features with the CDS9, and you're going to have that Kimber quality, but you have the Smith & Wesson quality with the CSX. Both have excellent round capacity, but if you want a flush fit mag, you're going to have to purchase the magazine for the 10-rounder because it only comes with a 13 and a 15 round magazine, which gives you really more of a full grip. With the Smith & Wesson, you get 3 mags where you only get 2 with the CDS9. But of course, they're going to be extended, and they're going to be over and above just getting the handgun. Both are single action. They both have really nice triggers. I would give the Kimber a little advantage on the trigger pull. You have wider slide serrations on the Kimber, but with the Smith & Wesson, they're just a little deeper and more angled, and you do have this cocking shelf at the back that just allows for very fast reloads. Both are optics ready. I like the sights on the CDS9 with the tag fiber optic and just the black outline. But you can get additional type sights with the CSX. I like the grip panel, and I can switch that out to a lot of G10 grips. Of course, with the original, I could actually take this one off and put it on here. So it's able to be a little bit more stylized. With the Smith & Wesson, you're going to get additional back straps to give you a little larger or smaller grip, and that is an advantage. But I feel that the Smith & Wesson is a little more rounded off, and it feels a little thinner. So you're getting a little more grip on the CDS9. Nice undercut with the CSX, and we have a divot here that allows for you to really get your hand up. Higher bore axis on the CDS9 than your Smith & Wesson. Double recoil spring, which is going to give you a little less felt recoil. You have a nitride finish on the Smith, which is the Armonite finish over stainless steel. You're getting raw stainless but brushed, and you're getting the Kim Pro 2 coat finish on the accents. But if you go with their other model, it's completely Kim Pro 2 finish. I mean, again, guys, this is an upgrade, and it's a couple of $100 more expensive than the Classic. No rails, so for those who like lights, really the only option is going to be with the Kimber original. And we're getting a 3.6-inch barrel with the Smith & Wesson, so it just gives us another option. Both have reversible magazine releases, and both have high-quality mags. Overall, these are 2 great options. There are some advantages with the Kimber, but the price is going to be higher. But overall, again, 2 great firearms. So guys, there's a lot of choices and a lot of advantages with each of these handguns. And guys, I'll tell you, I carry both on a regular basis. There's something about that metal frame, something about that single action that reminds me of the 1911, and yet you're getting that 2011 style mag capacity. So a very competent concealed carry option, and to me, just kind of goes above a lot of your polymer striker fire pistols. And a big thank you to Smith & Wesson and to Kimber for making this video possible. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. CS. Okay. It just gives you a really extra round count, and you're done. Okay. Okay, we need to really do that. We need to do that. I mean, it is really filled out. What the crap? Positives, a lot of negatives, a lot of shapoopah. They also offer a 3.6-inch version that I'm not gonna talk about yet. This is the classic, and we're also,